Gone. It's on the air. Hi, this is Vance Stevens in Al Ain, United Arab Emirates, and this is the 8th of March, 2015, and we're at Learning Together, which is our regular Sunday event, weekly. We've been doing this since 2010, a meeting every week. Just getting together for chatting or sometimes more or less formal presentations. Today is just a conversation. Elizabeth Ann has joined us, and she's going to be talking about how you do really far out, interesting, wild, edge of the envelope things in a conservative educational institution. So, which is kind of a lot of our situations, I'm sure. So I don't know if people want to say hi, maybe a brief hi. If you're not talking, be sure and you mute your microphone, keep it muted to cut down background noise. I see most people are pretty good about that. If you want to say hi, this is a good time to chime in.
So could I just ask if people saying hi could tell me what machine, what operating system they use? It's my obsession of the moment, and I'd love to know, how many Macs, how many Windows 8, how many 7, etc.
I think I have Windows 7.
Mm.
Me too. Windows 7.
I'm on a Windows 8 at the moment, and then I have
Windows 8 at work.
Mac here. Sorry, an iPad, but it keeps
Mac
going.
user here, OS 10.9.
My iPad is picking up paper clips. It's interesting.
Yeah, it does.
I'm on a Mac 10 point something.
I'm also on a Mac.
Yeah, I'm on a Mac as well.
Oh.
Yay for Macs.
Yeah.
Yay.
I might pop into the Hangout on my iPad just for fun in a minute.
It's 10.10.2.
What did you get, Elizabeth? Your new one?
Yeah, no, that was the problem. I wanted to get 7. I was ordering it online. I got 8 by mistake, and oh my God, I am struggling. I used to have total control of my machine, and I've kind of lost that. Apparently 10 has a lot of the 7 and XP characteristics, and it will be free for 1 year when it comes out. So Windows 10 is coming out like in the middle of the year or the end. Oh no, they're jumping it. They're so ashamed of 8.
Well,
actually,
there's good news.
I don't mind 8 at home. I get a little bit confused going from one to the other because of the difference of putting my cursor into the, beyond the corner in order to see the desktop or the whatever it is, as opposed to clicking on the start menu. So I'm always trying to do the wrong thing on the wrong computer. But except for that, I haven't had any real issues with 8. It's different, but it doesn't really bother me. And I have to admit that I was the same with the Vista. I didn't see what all the fuss was about it. Like, I had Vista for a few years, and it was okay. I didn't have any particular problems with it. Maybe I just don't have... I'm just not very discerning, easily satisfied. Excuse me.
Well, it's certainly very good for me because I'm teaching, I'm doing some teacher training, and with my XP, I was kind of like saying, do this, that, and the other, and of course it's no longer true. It's actually no longer true right to within the PB Works, which is a bit distressing. So I don't know if that's me.
Sorry, you can't get into
or if it's my machine.
What's the problem
within
with PB
Works? Well, I had a beautiful right click on an image, and it gave me the option, information about the image. Then if someone had put in an image which was too big and dragged down the corner so that it looked okay, I could simply download it straight from there, straight from the view. I could download the image, resize it, upload it without ever even entering edit mode. And I can't do that anymore on 8. When I right-click, I don't get informations about the image. Very sad.
I have noticed that.
Sorry.
So
I
that's how
think
you were able to do all those wonderful things with the EVO wikis that
Yeah,
none of us
really,
could do.
really quickly. I don't think everyone is. Actually, I think before we start, we need to know how many people are familiar with PBWorks. You know, like use it quite a bit, or not at all, or a little.
Here,
Can we have a? Do you use it? You know, yes
lot.
or no. Here it comes. Okay, yes or no in the chat.
A lot.
Okay, Maya doesn't.
Which chat? The
And
chat
Maria.
wing or the other chat?
No, the chat within the group, and you click on the blue square at the top left.
No, my chat is here. I just wondered if we were using this chat or if we were using the chat wing chat.
Well, yeah, I guess I should mention that there's a chat wing at chatwing.com/VanceStev, VanceStev. That's chatwing.com/VanceStev. And that's important because our Hangout, I believe, is full now. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, we've got 10 people in the Hangout. So there could be people in the stream. If people aren't in the Hangout, they can be listening to the stream. They could say hi in the chat wing, and they can tell us what operating system they use and if they're familiar with PBWorks. And sometimes people do that. So it's important to acknowledge that stream. And also, if you're listening on the stream, please just say hi. We can let you in if somebody wants to leave. So that's always possibilities. So just let us know you're there. And
can I raise a technical question, Vance?
Yes, Robert.
You know, as you know, I'm studying Google Hangouts right now, my thesis or whatever. It's actually for a TESOL Tech Fair presentation. You, as the originator of this, should have, do you not, at the lower right of your screen, a figure of how many viewers there are? Do you see that, Vance?
Yes. 0 viewers.
How many? Oh, 0 viewers. So nobody's watching at the event page in Google Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just okay.
So
Okay.
that was a vacuous announcement.
Well, interesting to know. Anyway. Okay. I'll be quiet.
No, I'll keep an eye on that. I'll let you know. I'll talk again if somebody joins.
Yeah,
us.
I thought besides Chatwing, that's another way to know if there are people viewing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Thanks for pointing that out. Well, let's see. We have with us, just so we've got so many people here, there's Benjamin from Aguascalientes, Benjamin Stewart in Mexico. There's Claire Braden-Siskin in Pennsylvania. Elizabeth is from Grenoble, and Kara in Oaxaca, Mexico. Maha Abdelmunim is in Cairo, I believe. And Maria is in Argentina, and then Nina in Maryland. Robert in the Philippines, Teresa in Portugal, and me in UAE. So there's a quick roster of who's here. And if anybody wants to chime in, just unmute your mic and say something. And otherwise, Elizabeth, what are we doing today?
Yeah, right. Well, I think practically half of the people don't use PBWiki a lot. I mean, obviously, it's a wiki, and at the beginning, it was much better than Wikispaces, which was the other common one. But I have no opinion on that anymore because, oh, you do use Wikispaces. That's interesting. There were a lot more, so Robert uses Wikispaces. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that could be an interesting debate. I mean, I tried them at first, and at first they, when I started out all these projects, there was less potential. I don't know if that is still true. PBWorks is a bit messy to get your head around. It's kind of like it's not totally user-friendly. There are a few, yeah, you see, there's a really, really great formatting on PBWorks. If you look into that, and And so once you get over this, just the few little sort of slight difficulties, like for example, images are uploaded at their pixel width, like in there's no interface for images. You have to upload them at the size you want, and etc. etc. But this being so, it's absolutely fabulous platform, because I've got hundreds and I'm a member of hundreds and hundreds of these PB works, because that was how I managed it. In my classes, we made a shared wiki. Okay, so I'm talking about third, fourth year students at the university. They're science students, and they have 20 hours of English. And the problem is that, of course, they're all desperate to get their diploma, and their mark for the English has the same weight as their mark for one of their science subjects. And so we have to be very accountable for the marks we give. And quite honestly, we've turned it into a really positive thing. So the starting point was that in pre-Web 2 times, in order to get the students doing a bit of it's directly reflective learning. The students, because the problem is that we have several teachers all teaching the same level, and in the end, they have a shared exam and they have a shared continual assessment mark. And so we're all really accountable. I guess it's like that for everyone. I don't really know the the various situations. So before the web, in order to get them into some kind of reflective learning, I actually managed to impose that all of the students had to keep what we called a course log. So in fact, do any of you use, is that a familiar term to you, a course log for learning? Or a logbook, or, do you use that sort of thing? Can you sort of do a yes, no? Do you?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, for the students, in some contexts I have, of course, e-portfolios, for example, or whatever you call them, course log.
Yeah, no, reading journals obviously are really, really interesting. It's kind of like more a weekly report. In fact, what we were asking them was to write a weekly paragraph, because obviously we can't ask a lot of these people, a weekly paragraph, which is, why did we do that in class, and what did they learn? So the idea being that the students take on board their own learning. And it worked really well, and it's just so interesting for the teachers, because often the students would sort of find reasons for doing things that you hadn't actually thought of. You say, oh yeah, it's a good idea. So it's very, very satisfying as a thing. And of course, they all end up really positive because they get a mark. So are guaranteed a good review. Sorry. And so when it then became possible to use wikis, and well, actually, I started with blogs, but obviously a blog you have, and that's kind of end of. Whereas one essential part of this using a wiki is that you can just correct the text, and then the students have their page with the modifications. So I have to show you that now, I guess. The students have the page with the modifications, and they have what is wrong crossed out and what is right in green. So you're just correcting without any faff, without any bother. and they get really nice, a really good correction. And actually, with this thing about changing computers, I haven't really been able to prepare correctly, I'm afraid. So I'm going to do the best I can to show you that, which I believe is to go to. I can't see you anymore. Can somebody say if you can see this? Wait a minute.
We can see you. We can't see your screen share yet.
Ah. Oh dear.
Hopefully it's in another window.
Oh yes, here it comes. Uh-oh. No, it doesn't. Just a minute. Here it comes. Yes. Right. Okay, so I'm going to show the entire screen.
Working fine earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. But it's the Hangout window, so.
Oh, what a pity. That's not a very interesting window, is it? So this is what I want to show you.
Okay.
Right. You can see a slide share? Can you see a slide share? That is, you know, the classic slide share.
Yes, slide share, huh?
Okay, and because there you can see that when the person writes, this is what I mean. When you look at the page history, you see this. So just quickly in the text, and then describe the changes. I can make comments on the grammar, and on my computer I have a list of references for specific grammar points. So I kind of like just removed all the problem of teaching specific grammar points by doing this. And so just to say very briefly, so for each group, I've opened these so that I don't spend too much time. You can see, so you know, for example, there we have two groups, and so they would give themselves names each year's. Oh, I could switch the sound down there. Each year it was they give themselves really amazing names, because obviously if I call them L3 physics, then I get very confused. And so with a class name, and they kind of adhered to that, and then we made a wiki in class, and I can give you that link because of doing it frequently. I had all of the instructions in a ready to use page. That's here, because that's public, and it says that. So it told them how to do it. So in the first class, I would enroll them all. I would create it in front of them, then enroll them all in it. Then they had to follow the instructions, create that, so that we spent one class doing this. And so then they all had their own. I think I'm getting close to it. I don't want to twitter on for too long. Because then when they had their own, and the instructions on that one, it tells them you must link to the class wiki, and you must link to, I'm trying to sound off, and you must link to your own. And so then they would take it in turns to write what happened in the class. So here, when you look at the page history, this is the great thing about using wikis rather than blogs. So then when you look at the page history, you can see that the various members of the class wrote what happened in class, and because that bit we could just share, and then they had to go to their own space, and this I could then be say, right, you know, you're going to get a mark ring for this, and there's nothing as great as these students working for marks. because they kind of like really motivates them. So then they kept their own personal course log. I haven't really picked the best one. It was a bit quick random one, and they say what, as I said, why did we do that? What did they do? And so then practically all of the marks are here. And in fact, once, has anyone got anything to say? I sort of feel I'm going on a bit. No?
Elizabeth,
the age group.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is each student writing after each class about why did we do that and what did we learn, and then only one student puts it on the group wiki, but on their own wiki they're writing each time?
Yeah. Each time they have to write. This is the thing about using the mark. Each time they have to write a paragraph obviously it's up to them if it's after the class or if they do it all at once. But that was part of and then how I was managing that so as not to be overworked, because like the first year I was working 24 hours a day to try and keep up with this, And but then I did get a system going, which I could talk about. I've got so many blinks going on. What age groups are the students? The students are third-year university students mainly, and some of them are fourth year. So you're talking, 21, 22. The fourth year is the master's degree. So shall I go back and carry on a bit?
I'm wondering.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you explain just a little bit more? I'm not really clear on how you managed to check all the responses from all the students. If I use this, I might have a total of something over 40.
Yeah.
Just can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, no, that was yes, I was getting to that. That was the important, for me it was the important thing that I learned from this experience. But if first of all I can just finish off with the advantages, okay? And that is really specifically the question I want to address, indeed. So I think I need to find another one. I wish I'd had time to prepare correctly for you, because oh yes, there's a nice one. What I wanted to add was about the advantages of having set up this system. So this is before we talk about the correcting. The advantage was that I can do things then like embed wikis of the class. This was the exam. They had a poster session because they're science students, and it's really nice. But that was very much the end of the year. But during the year, they could do things like we would do. I like to encourage a lot of reading. So the students would all have choose an article they were going to read. Then in pairs, they would decide one of the two articles to work on. We always work in pairs in that sort of public space. And then once they'd chosen which article they're going to work on, they then can write a questionnaire about the article. And then we had this super situation in class where each machine had the questions put there by the students, and the other students can read and answer the questions. So it was just sort of for some intensive reading. But what I'm saying is that because this system was in place, it was quite easy to set those sort of activities. And just the last point in the no, wrong again, and the last no, wrong again. The last point in the super activities, I can't find it. My super activity was that whenever we had a specific speaking task, they would upload things. The change over 6 years is absolutely enormous. At first, they were like a bit lost and hesitant on going online, but in the last year, everyone just they were just using it to its full potential. And what I'm looking for, oh, here it is, great, is they had, for example, they had an activity in which if they had to find out about a scientist, and they would they had to do a chat show with that scientist. And although this is a 2012 one, so the Vocaroo have completely gone, but instead of doing it in class, they would do it at home with their phones and things. And actually, there's not many left on here, I'm afraid. But again, the wiki is there. There's no hassle. It's totally public. They did know themselves. And this was a really exceptionally beautiful one, because this guy did an interview with Stephen Hawking, but actually used a synthetic voice to do the Hawkins voice.
Oh, wow.
Then they did it again to do it. This is just show you how that works. So, see, can you hear this?
Unlikely. We can see it is doing something. Or maybe if you put your microphone, if you can hear it, you could put your microphone up to what you're listening to.
Yeah. I'll just unplug.
There we are.
It's okay with you for fun with science. You said you hadn't a typical family. Can you say more about that? Yes, a friend of our family. Found ourselves in eccentric lunch.
Okay.
Dinner in silence, smiling
So, I mean, it was kind of obviously really, really great. And then they did a proper one, because they were afraid, I guess, because it was in class, and they did one where they are both speaking. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. So that's the end of the illustration. But what I'm saying. Ooh, I think that's gone somewhere. Okay. The point. So, what was important to me in this activity was that I'm trying to get back to you, and I can't. What was important to me is that the students could. It was kind of like coherently available for them. So to answer Kara's question, which I think really is the point. As I say, when I started this up, I was like working 24 hours a day, and all the time I was absolutely petrified of missing something which they had done, and it was generally a big mess, and certainly no one could do it. But I am talking about 6 groups of 15 students, okay, altogether, for 20 hours of teaching. So what would be for normal in that teaching is 2 or 3, 3 rather than 2 corrections. Okay, so I'm not going to correct all the work they do, but actual official corrections, as normal what was on paper corrections, I would expect to do 2 or 3 during a 20-hour course. And so while I continued to bang out corrections, I didn't try to say, who is it, what am I correcting, what am I doing? It was a direct reaction to what was on the page and the people there. And then I would sit down with my list of students for the class and then go through systematically twice during the term time and once at the end. And that would and it was really very good because it would remind me, I'd actually sort of seen it before without too much hassle. If I hadn't corrected it, it was no problem. I correct it then. They had one, I brought a kind of a stop time when I corrected for the marks. And actually that was another thing that was really quite funny, because I would do that for the first time very early on and say, oh, look, these are the marks that you have up to now. And so then they'd all be absolutely petrified, the ones that had done nothing. And when they saw a 0, they'd say, ah! And so I say, okay, you can, it's not an addition of marks, but you can, it's a sliding thing. It's the final mark which counts. So I only produced from those first 2 readings just to frighten them into doing the work. It's a little bit wicked, really. And so once I'd established this system, it became, and also it's true that we were able to move a little bit away from we're only there for the marks, because of the interest generated by all of this activity, And also, and so everything is there to hand. These famous marks are totally transparent. If someone is, and of course, these 28-year-old university science students, their marks are really precious to them. And so you'll often get someone saying, why did I not get a better mark than that? And everything is available. It's there. Look. And it's so quick to say, you did that. Look, he got that mark. He did that. And the whole thing becomes very, very transparent. And I definitely found manageable by continuing to correct, but not with that mentality of, sort of mark giving. I don't know, does that say anything to you? I'm going to shut up. You're talking too much.
Well, I'd like to interject that we have a viewer, and we also have an echo, but he's not muted the mic. Oh, that went away. Great. Okay. Well, anyway, we have a viewer in the stream. Isn't that amazing? So if our Hangout is full, but we have a chat wing. If you're on webheadsinAction.org/live, the chat wing is at the bottom, embedded at the bottom of that page. Or if you're here through some other stream, then the chat wing is chatwing.com/VANCESTEV. And you can go there and interact with us, and people in that chat are wondering who is here, who's joined us. So identify yourself if you'd like. And then I think Robert has a question. You want to ask your question, Robert?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I was just thinking of the focus of this discussion. I remember the description that I got in the notice about it. Something about using blended learning in institutions where it's not really supported or something, or people aren't used to it.
But that is
getting echo.
Yeah, that is absolutely, utterly, and totally the case. There's no way that this is in any way supported by the institution. And that was the great advantage, was the people I was working alongside who were producing their course logs on paper, they were not at all online. And I mean, I think that's what I've learned through the webheads, is that if you wait for something to actually move, it's it doesn't happen. When you say pushback from the institution, you mean sort of negative? Negative? What do you mean, Nina? Can you just say? Not supported by the university. Okay, Benjamin is asking, what does it mean that it is not supported by the university? Well, the university obviously has computers, and I was also in a position to have more computers installed. That was, a really good thing. The university kept trying to impose the kind of learning management systems which they built themselves and which were really, really just so clunky. It was absolutely dreadful. And because we're English in a science university, we were kind of like out of mainstream anyway. So, so I was able to do my thing. And obviously, when I was working far too hard the first year, it was really silly, the amount of work I put into it the first year. So my colleagues there were saying, oh, yeah, no, you can't spend time like that on the students. But when I got it organized, so they definitely wasn't taking more than the average, then people started to get interested. Does that answer your question, Benjamin? You can ask it. Can ask it. Actually, just not to forget, Teresa's going up off the screen. So if I can, I'll just answer that as well, because Teresa asked if the marks were online and available to all the students, and that is absolutely totally not. We have very rigid laws how marks cannot be made public with the name. It's, France being extremely bureaucratic. No, they could just come and ask, and that's when I could show them. And in any case, they speak to each other. They know each other's marks, obviously. So that's how they come back, asking for more. Voilà.
Do you see any positive effects from your method of marking? For example, well, I use Google Docs in a similar way, and I have the students make the corrections themselves. I'll leave comments for them and then they have to make the corrections. And so in your case, highlighted it for them. But I don't know, do they actually assimilate that, or do you have evidence of that?
Yeah, well, what I found was that with having everything online like that, it was just so easy to highlight and paste into, onto a Word document the mistakes of the group. And I would actually print that page, take it into class, and not every week, as I say, like every week, 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And it was really great because the mistakes were anonymous, but of course everyone recognized their own sentence. And there are some always the same mistake because it's essentially a monolingual group. And it was just absolutely fabulous. Instead of me saying, oh no, because they would put informations with an S and advice with an S. They're countable in French. And so then by copying the mistakes and bringing this sheet into class, it was great because instead of it just being me, the teacher, saying, oh my God, another S on information, the students were actually saying, oh no, information doesn't take an S. Yeah, got there. And Benjamin said, how are the mistakes anonymous? Because I would just take extracts, so just a part of a sentence or a whole sentence, and if it was really with a name, I could just take it. so that the list of mistakes. I mean, there was nothing that. Yeah. So as I go through reading the correction, I copy and paste before correcting it. Some of them, and then that page is then ready just to print and walk into the class. And that's what I mean about the blended bit. That direct, real, physical, in the classroom contact of something which was done at home really kind of had impact. And well, the point was Benjamin says they can say who makes mistakes in the wiki. Well, the point is that there was the shared wiki said, what did we do in class? Because that's kind of boring. So wouldn't want everyone to be writing what went on in class, because they would all be saying the same thing. And so the shared wiki, where it was two people were responsible. So we're not pointing out who made the mistake in that space, in that shared space. And theoretically, hopefully, they were encouraged to correct each other on that shared space. I would have liked that shared space to do, to take up more of the of this project. But in fact, they had to have their own private space, which had to be private, so that they could get their university marks from what they wrote there. Okay, so just for anyone watching, I'm saying Maria is saying that effectively when the student made an unusual or funny mistake, the people say, yeah, that's my mistake. It's true that, well, I'll tell you something else though, your pupils are not French. I think there's a big cultural thing there as well. It took me a long time at the beginning. It's not true anymore, but it took me a long time at the beginning of my teaching here to get the student to say, I don't know. This was outside their whatever. Well, I would hope, I mean, I'm quite happy with, Van says they could be making mistakes on purpose. Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind people making mistakes on purpose. It's a great illustration, but that does remind me that I used to say, that mistakes are a gift to the teacher. And then after a while I said, no, okay, no more gifts, thank you, that's enough. Because
I was kidding about that.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I was so thrilled when I read Scott Thornbury's Dog Me, so he kind of conceptualized, and everyone knows Thornbury's, I can't say really, it's Scott Thornbury and that's this thing as well. Dog Me. Do you know this Dog Me movement? Yeah. Oh yeah, funny mistakes are funny. Well, that was the point. That's how it became workable. Benjamin says mistakes will appear and one can track who made those mistakes. Yes, you can. And that was kind of like my starting point when I first started out, where I was really sort of trying to follow everything. And then as I kind of grew online with Evo, I thought, yeah, this can also go into class. So although it would be possible to trace a mistake, it's no problem, let it go. Just decide, where the marks come in, and for the rest, let it happen.
I'm curious. I don't know if I can the question. I'm curious how you articulated your expectations for participation and how the students, for example, were there any types or any times where you had certain expectations of how they were to participate and share and collaborate in the wiki versus their expectations? Did you have a rubric, for example? How did you manage that? And I'm also curious how you arranged your class face-to-face based on what they did in the wiki.
Okay, Elizabeth, I muted you because the echo was coming from you.
I know, I'm sorry, it was when I took it out. I don't know if that's improved at all. It's not, the working class is not based on the wiki. It's a constant, you know, first one then the other. It's the chicken and the egg. So I'm losing your question there. So the frequently there would be things which would be totally started in class. I mean, there's a lot of varied activity. I'm sorry, could you just ask that question again now?
Sure. The question I had was, I'm curious about the expectations that you had for participation and collaboration versus their expectations. For example, if you know, maybe the students thought, well, I changed this, I changed a mistake here, whether or not they actually changed the mistake correctly or not. How did you gauge or grade their participation? And was there any, or were there any times where there was maybe they weren't in agreement with how you were grading their participation based on your own expectations and what the goals of the course were? That was kind of the first question. And then I'm curious about how those errors or that type of collaboration or participation in the wiki influenced the class itself. I know that it was kind of a back and forth between in-class participation and the wiki, but it seems to me, at least based on my experience when I've used wikis, I've always found opportunities when I see the types of errors that are being committed and the types of participation somehow influencing what we end up doing in class. So I'm curious about, based on your experience, you know, what have you seen?
As I said, I'm really sorry. My headphones are not working, and just let me see if I can. No, yeah, here we go. I don't understand. Okay, sorry, I can't help.
It's fine. It's fine when you mute yourself while other people talk.
Okay.
It works just fine that way.
Yeah, it's this bloody new machine. The machine I told you. So I would have liked the shared part to be bigger in the whole project. The part which was shared was relatively minor. That's why each student had to make his own private wiki and fulfill the specific tasks which were requested. You know, he could do more, and he could do, and the things on the shared wiki were not directly sanctioned or not by marks. And so it really allowed us to introduce you know, a kind of more, it allowed us within the system to move away from I'm only working for the marks, because there were some people who took the class forward, and then I always, you know, sort of took the attitude that, you know, they're adults, they're 20-year-old people. You know, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. I mean, I would say, okay, you don't want to fill in your wiki, that's absolutely wonderful for me, gives me no work to do. I just put a 0 and, you know, end of story. It's not my problem. And so everything that was marks was on this private space. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, we're having an interesting discussion in the chat about dog.me. Anytime you bring up dog.me and Scott Thornberry, it's always going to get interesting. So I don't know if anybody has anything to say about DogMe. Some people haven't heard of it. I put a link to the Wikipedia page there. I don't know. Why did you mention DogMe, Elizabeth?
It's always been very, very important. It was just great that Scott Thornbury once again brought it out. But I think also you get many of the same principles in the silent way, which is obviously the other extreme in Gatino's silent way. The point being, thanks, God. The point being that you work entirely with emergent language. That I think, to me, the essential part of me is I would never go into class and say, right, we are going to study the present perfect. It can only come at the time when it is needed. In fact, that to me is the definition of DogMe. And in fact, in special purposes, it's no problem, because it means that the work is, I don't know how to say, impulsed is the French word, impulsé. The work is driven forward by the content. And because we're working in special purposes, we have content of interest and which the students know about, so they can explain. I mean, we're only using general magazines, well, sort of semi-specialist magazines, but we like I would use magazines like not just the New Scientist or Discover, but Physics World, Chemistry World. Now, these are journals for a general public of scientists, and as such, it allowed them to get their nose out of their, when you're actually studying these things, it's atrociously boring because you're totally in the details, and you can't see the big picture. And so, coming into this special purposes English class, it allows them to have a little look at some kind of big picture of some aspect. And so we've got what is the initial starting point of DogMe is interest in the subject. Well, I guess that's any teaching, isn't it, really? I don't know. And but I tell you what, even since I'm doing all the talking, no one's unmuting their microphone. I must say that because my heroes, along with Thornbury and Krashen, but my biggest hero is it's Paul, isn't it? Paul Nation. Paul Nation and his 4 strands. Paul Nation's 4 strands. That is just absolutely great. Where effective. Okay. Right. Any comments? Mute my microphone.
Elizabeth, I've had a question for a while, and that is, I hope that you didn't say it and I missed it somehow, but how exactly do you assign the grades for these things? Are you grading every single thing that the student writes or just some of them? And are you using a rubric that is shared with the other teachers, etc.?
Yeah, the other teachers are giving a percentage. It's 40% of the final mark is on the course log. So the other teachers, I've got pictures of them somewhere. The students have to give in a paper copy of this week by week course log and the vocabulary. They have a vocabulary section, they have the course log section, and they have the extra work section. And this is the file on which all of the students are given their mark. So then within that is the mark I give for the private wikis, which and I decide how much of what. So obviously I sort of give bonuses for extra extra imaginative use of the tool, which I'm not quite sure is really not quite cricket, but there we are. So yeah, it is clear.
I think, Elizabeth, that what you've done is similar to what a friend of mine from Hello Little World is doing, and he keeps a record of all his classes in a blog. And he said that the only hard part was the first year, because since the course was repeated year after year, the only thing he did was just copy and paste. And whenever something new came up, he just had to write that. But at the beginning, it to me, though I have been using PBWorks at the EVO sessions, but I have not created one. To me, it sounds like a daunting experience. Is such a huge amount of work, and it doesn't apply to me because I have, when I have the most, I have 8 students, and so I can work with Google Docs, okay. But I would like, and it comes as a necessity after I've been mingling with you, I would love to have a shared space where, for example, my students can share what worked for them for specific things. And in that way, I think I could exploit the potential of wikis. But I think it's great what you are doing. Congratulations.
Thank you, but I know that you have a lot of private pupils, so they have a different motivation, and I know that I have a friend here in Grenoble who has used Edmodo like that. Edmodo or Wiki could be the same thing, and she has these individual, these private lessons, and then she gets them all to join this Edmodo group. And so then, she establishes an interaction between her private lessons like that. It's really cool.
Okay, well, we're coming to the top of the hour. We just passed it. We're not in a big hurry to leave, but some people have left, so might be time to be thinking about endgame. Any final comments or questions before we go on about our daily lives, or nightly lives, as the case may be?
I want to thank Elizabeth for sharing this use of PBWorks. I've always kind of avoided the collaborative aspect of wikis when using them in class. I use wikis before I had Canvas, I used a wiki as a class website, sometimes a blog, but most often a wiki, so that things would not disappear and I could read it again. But this is a whole new way to use it, and I think it's very cool. So thanks for sharing, Elizabeth.
Well, thank you all so much for coming. I'm really, thank you. Good. Well, I hope I hope you can take something from it, and it'd be great to hear about Vance's use of Google Docs, because I think that this is I think Google Docs are the future indeed. It'd be great to know, sort of like that correcting and things for those as well. Thanks for coming. Getting me to install my machine.
So Elizabeth, why don't you just come to the United States and visit? Don't wait for the TESOL convention.
Oh, you're muted, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm up to Greece. I'm going to the TESOL Greece next week. I've never been to Athens, so it's very exciting.
Kalotaksidi.
No.
Okay, well, we seem to be down to just 4 of us, so Maybe I should say that this is Learning Together, coming to the end of another weekly Learning Together event, March 8th, 2015. We've been talking with Elizabeth Ann, who is right on the conference circuit over there in Europe and has just been invited to come to the United States. But she was in Morocco. I saw her there. I think that's where we met. But anyway, very nice to come and discuss our trade with all these practitioners here. It's always a pleasant experience. So thanks a lot for offering to do this. And next week is a blog festival. I'm giving a presentation. Actually, it's on Saturday. So that's Stephen Downs is giving a presentation and some other people. It's one of Nellie Deutsch's things. That's what I'll be doing for Learning Together next week, because on Sunday I'll be on a plane. So going over to TESOL, and then at TESOL we'll be broadcasting from, streaming from the event, but not on a Sunday. So I think a Sunday is the day I travel back again. So we'll have a couple of weeks where we'll be kind of broadcasting at various times, and I'll hope to see Nina there.
Yeah, but it's 1 week later, Vance. Because next week I'm teaching, and the week after that I have spring break, and the week after that is TESOL.
Yes. Well, okay. Well, next week is the Saturday Spring Blog Fest. The week after that is the one where. No, yeah, you're right. Let's see. No. Oh, next week for me it's a TESOL Arabia conference. Yes.
Okay.
So we might have something on Sunday. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, you're right. I'm a week out of kilter.
Please don't rush it, because I'm not done with my report and I'm not done with my EV presentation. So
I've got several of them. I'm still trying.
I need some time.
Yeah.
I had a 4-day weekend this weekend, but didn't take as much advantage of it as I should have.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find. Let's see.
Do you ever have sand days where you are? Like we have snow days?
No, not really.
Too bad for you.
Yeah, maybe if we get fog. It's about the worst thing we have here.
Fog? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up what we're doing next week, and for some reason it's not loading in very quickly. PB Works. Anyway.
I might have it. Hang on.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's just not loading. Here it is. Okay.
Oops. Wrong thing.
Isn't this weird? Okay. Tomorrow, Russell Stannard is speaking with the German crowd. Jürgen.
Is he going to be speaking in English, I hope?
It's about using Moodles.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I might go to that, except it means I have to go home late, because it's right when I get on the bus. So if I miss that bus, I can't take another bus till almost 5 o'clock. But I might go.
Today is the 8th. It looks like we don't really have anything for the 15th. Isn't that interesting? Okay. All right. Okay, we'll have to come up with something. All right, we'll try it. We'll work on that. I didn't realize that.
Next.
Okay, anyway, I shouldn't have admitted that on the air and on a recording, so maybe I'd better stop talking.
Okay. Well,
or maybe someone will hear this and volunteer to give us something on the 15th of March. Okay. All right.
The blog festival is the 21st. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's when we go to TESOL.
Right.
All right.
I don't go till the 25th, but I'll be there on Wednesday night. Where are you staying?
Stop the broadcast before we go too far here. Good night, everybody.